The FBI raided Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate to recover sensitive documents. Is this about justice or politics? Welcome to America Uncovered. I'm Chris Chappell. This episode is sponsored by Incogni. You probably know that companies are collecting your personal data, but you may not realize just how many. Dozens, maybe hundreds, most of which you've never heard of, and you have no idea what they're doing with your data. Incogni helps you stop them. I'll explain more at the end. So, the coronavirus pandemic is all but over, and you know what that means? Mainstream media needs something else to talk about, nonstop, to get everyone's attention. Luckily for them, on Monday last week, the FBI conducted a search on Trump's home in Florida, Mar-a-Lago, while he was away. Which Trump then tweeted, truthed on Truth Social. Hello, ratings. We missed you, Donnie. The FBI's search came after the National Archives and Records Administration accused Trump of taking confidential documents with him after leaving office. The National Archives already retrieved 15 boxes of records from Mar-a-Lago in January. It's the first time the FBI has ever raided the home of an ex-president, and sources say it could involve illegal possession of classified national defense information.
The FBI is carrying out a search warrant related to how he may have handled presidential documents, including classified documents that he might have brought home from the White House.
Secret Service validated the warrant and got a heads up before the FBI arrived. Trump's legal team has reportedly been cooperating with the archives to return some of those classified materials, but this search, because we're seeing it, may suggest that some materials were not all returned.
Trump didn't handle the documents correctly? How? Did he grab him by the... You know what, it's probably best not to speculate. At the time, we didn't know much about what the FBI was exactly looking for. The U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland did something unusual. He filed a motion to unseal both the search warrant and the property receipt of what was taken. Trump was expected to fight unsealing the warrant because the warrant was supposedly sealed to protect him. But since when has Trump ever done what was expected? In fact, Trump went further and said he wanted them to release the warrant. Now the warrant has been unsealed, and we know the reason for the search and what items the FBI found. Sort of. According to the warrant, agents were looking for documents with classification markings, information about retrieving, storing, or transmitting classified material, government or presidential records from Trump's time in office, and any evidence that these types of documents were altered, destroyed, or concealed. So that's what they were looking for. What did the FBI find? Agents took around 20 boxes of items, binders of photos, a handwritten note, and the executive grant of clemency for Mr. Trump's ally, Roger Stone. Also included in the list was information about the President of France. Wait, why the President of France? Could it be the secret of why his chest hair is so sexy? Is that a shaved Wookiee chest toupee? The American people need to know. According to the property receipt, Trump had 11 sets of classified documents, the type of things you need security clearance to look at. This includes top secret and sensitive compartmented information. The top secret is information that could cause exceptionally grave damage to national security if it gets disclosed. I don't know why anyone's afraid of Trump having that, though. He's clearly more discreet than anyone gives him credit for. I mean, he hasn't even told us about the aliens yet. This man knows how to keep a secret. Speaking of secrets, sensitive compartmented information is even more sensitive than top secret information. It has to be stored and viewed in specific facilities. If Trump did mishandle these types of documents, it could be a genuine national security concern. Material that's considered top secret and above could include things like intelligence activities, military plans, and nuclear codes. According to the Washington Post, documents about nuclear weapons were among the things the FBI was searching for. But they got that information from anonymous sources. So who knows if that's true? Quoting people who are familiar with the investigation is pretty vague. Also, here's a neat little trick. The overall impression most people would get from the headline of the Washington Post story is that Trump was hiding documents about nuclear weapons. But what the anonymous sources actually said, according to the Washington Post, was that the FBI was looking for nuclear documents. Those sources also didn't say what kind of nuclear information it was, like whether it involved nuclear weapons belonging to the US or other countries. Those anonymous sources also didn't say whether the FBI actually found any documents about nuclear weapons. The rest of the article doesn't really even mention nuclear weapons documents, except for some quotes from experts who are speculating about what it would mean if it were true that there were sensitive nuclear documents at Mar-a-Lago, which again, we don't know if there were. The property receipt doesn't give the exact details. I mean, miscellaneous top secret documents? And not all things labeled classified or even top secret are a real threat to national security. That's not according to me. That's according to former President Barack Obama.
What I also know, because I handle a lot of classified information, is that there's classified and then there's classified. There's stuff that is really top secret, and there's stuff that is being presented to the President or the Secretary of State that you might not want on the transom or going out over the wire, but is basically stuff that you could get in open source.
Still, it's not like the government is going to reveal what the FBI took from Mar-a-Lago, nor apparently are the anonymous sources who talked to the Washington Post. If I had to guess, I think Trump made off with the secret of why do kids love the taste of Cinnamon Toast Crunch. The American people need to know. But many Republicans suspect there's an ulterior motive behind the FBI's search. Some say it's to deny Trump a 2024 run and to punish him for the January 6th Capitol riot. Is that the case? More after the break. Welcome back. The Justice Department approved the FBI's search of Trump's Mar-a-Lago to find official presidential records. According to the U.S. Attorney General, it was done purely for the sake of upholding the rule of law.
Faithful adherence to the rule of law is the bedrock principle of the Justice Department and of our democracy. Upholding the rule of law means applying the law evenly, without fear or favor. Under my watch, that is precisely what the Justice Department is doing.
But many on the right don't see this as just following the rule of law.
President Trump is investigated because they're scared that he's running, and he will win again.
Salvar este país. No queremos ser como Cuba, ni Nicaragua, ni Venezuela.
In my opinion, this is communism.
In a statement, Trump called the FBI search prosecutorial misconduct, the weaponization of the justice system, and an attack by radical left Democrats. Although you can tell that Trump didn't write that statement since it didn't end with sad. Other Republicans followed along with Trump's rhetoric to attack the regime. They accused Garland and the Justice Department of targeting President Trump and members of Congress with abusive tactics, just like third world Marxist dictatorships. Just like third world Marxist dictatorships? It's a little bit of an exaggeration since, Trump hasn't been black-bagged. Democrats are responding by saying the FBI investigation of Trump goes beyond politics. Because if Trump really did flush presidential notes down the toilet while in office, think of all the poor people who had to retrieve and assemble them. I've heard of muckraking, but this is ridiculous. As I said before, there could be legitimate security concerns. But the search warrant gives a lot of leeway to the Justice Department, and this could make the investigation more political. According to the search warrant, the Justice Department sought and received judicial authority to seize evidence of 3 crimes: violation of the Espionage Act, the concealment, removal, or mutilation of government records, and the obstruction of investigations by altering or destroying evidence. While the Espionage Act offense relates to defense secrets, the other 2 offenses are not limited to classified information. One is about the concealment, removal, or mutilation of any government record, not just classified ones. And the other applies to any item, government or not. The goal is to protect government investigations. So, what? Trump could also get in trouble for making off with White House towels? What's the big deal? I do this in my hotels all the time. Plus, according to the warrant, containers and boxes found near the classified documents counted as property up for grabs. So they could basically just take anything in his safe then? Hey, where'd you get that new Rolex, Fred? faithful adherence to the rule of law. They could also seize any records created during Trump's presidency. If you think that's pretty broad, well, it is. Many on the right are afraid that the FBI's search is fishing for evidence that can be used for other alleged crimes, like inciting the January 6th riot. Heck, considering how badly some people want to see prosecuted for anything, I wouldn't be surprised if they took his sneakers and looked for evidence of jaywalking. So does this mean Trump will be charged for a crime? Not necessarily. According to former Director of National Intelligence, John Ratcliffe, it's virtually impossible to prosecute Trump for mishandling classified material. After all, Hillary Clinton also mismanaged classified documents through her emails. But that alone wasn't enough to be charged under the Espionage Act, no matter how badly some Republicans still want it to be. Not to say that Clinton was innocent, and Trump might be right there with her. It's important to handle classified documents properly. But perhaps politics is getting into some people's heads when it comes to Trump. I'll tell you more after the break. Welcome back. So are people's personal feelings about Trump affecting their judgment? Well, let's look at ex-NSA and CIA Chief Michael Hayden. He's a vocal critic of Trump who's pushing for prosecution. It's gotten to the point that he's doing something as insane as implying Trump should be executed. Okay, calm down there, Kathy Griffin. In context, Hayden was responding to a tweet about the Rosenbergs, who were executed for giving nuclear secrets to the Soviet Union. This was after the Washington Post report about the FBI looking for nuclear documents, which again, we don't know if they found any. But something tells me that politics is getting involved in some way, especially when you consider how Hillary Clinton never got raided or had former CIA directors talk about assassinating her. Probably because assassinating people is Hillary's job. Okay, kidding aside, this story sounds very familiar. It pretty much follows the Trump scandal playbook. There's some kind of scandal about Trump. He gets investigated in some way by the authorities. We don't know much about the investigation, but the mainstream media use anonymous sources and experts to speculate that Trump has done something criminal, probably involving Russia. There's a huge amount of hype. The government investigation doesn't find anything criminal. Trump doesn't get arrested, and the Washington Post wins a Pulitzer. So again, I'm not saying that Trump did or didn't do anything wrong this time. There are still a lot of unknowns in this story. But one thing is for certain. The ratings are gonna be through the roof. Welcome back, Donnie! And this episode has been sponsored by Incogni. Whenever you do anything online, there's a huge number of companies that collect your personal data. Your name, your email, your home address, your social security number, your employment history, all sorts of things. And what are they doing with your data? Well, they're buying it, selling it, and trading it like you're a commodity. If all they do is use it to sell you products, you're lucky. Some of them use it to adjust your credit score, or potentially more nefarious things. And if any of those companies get hacked, you could be in big trouble. For example, last month, a hacker stole user data from 5.4 million Twitter accounts, which included users' phone numbers and email addresses. And that hacker put this user data up for sale on the web for $30,000. And if Twitter can be hacked, so can all the smaller companies that buy and sell your data. That's why I signed up for Incogni. It showed me 76 data brokers that potentially had my private information. Incogni forces these companies to delete your data. Now, there are laws that allow you to do this, but if you want to do it yourself, you'd have to figure out the applicable laws, write letters in a specific legal way, and follow up to make sure your instructions are followed. Incogni handles this for you. 3 months after signing up, Incogni had already gotten my details removed from 19 of these data brokers, with 35 more in progress. And I didn't have to do anything after signing up. So check out Incogni using the link below, or go to incogni.com/uncovered. The first 100 people to use the code UNCOVERED will get 20% off. Get your personal data off the market with Incogni. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thanks for watching America Uncovered.